Fourth Merkel cabinet CDU, CSU SPD. The 2021 German federal election for the 20th Bundestag is expected to be held on the 26th of September 2021. On the same day, state elections will be held as well. Berlin, Mecklenburg-Pomerania and Thuringia will elect their respective state parliaments. The 2017 federal elections were held after a four-year grand coalition between the CDU, CSU and SPD. Though the CDU, CSU remained the biggest parliamentary group, both it and the SPD suffered significant losses. The SPD leadership, recognizing the party's unsatisfactory performance after 4 years in government, announced that it would go into opposition, with the CDU, CSU having pledged not to work with either the AfD or the left before the elections. The only remaining option for a majority government was a Jamaica coalition consisting of the FDP and the Greens. Exploratory talks between the parties were held over the next 6 weeks. Though on the 20th of November the FDP withdrew from the negotiations, citing irreconcilable differences between the parties on migration and energy policies. Chancellor Angela Merkel consulted with President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who implored all parties to reconsider in order to avoid fresh elections. Consequently, the Social Democrats and their leader Martin Schulz indicated their willingness to enter into discussions for another coalition government with the CDU, CSU. The SPD leadership voted to enter into exploratory discussion on the 15th of December 2017 and at a party Congress in January 2018 a majority of the party's delegates voted to support the coalition talks. The text of the final agreement was agreed to by the CDU, CSU and SPD on the 7th of February, though was conditioned on the approval of a majority of the SPD's party membership. The 463,723 members of the SPD voted to approve or reject the deal from the 20th of February to the 2nd of March, with the result announced on the 4th of March. A total of 78.39% of members cast valid votes, of which 66.02% voted in favor of another grand coalition. Merkel was voted in by the Bundestag for a fourth term as Chancellor on the 14th of March, with 364 votes for, 315 against, 9 abstentions, and 4 invalid votes, 9 more votes than the 355 needed for a majority. The new government was officially referred to as the Fourth Merkel cabinet. Merkel's new government was subject to intense instability. The 2018 German government crisis saw the long-standing alliance between the CDU and CSU threatened to split over asylum seeker policy. Interior Minister and CSU leader Horst Seehofer threatened to undercut Merkel's authority by closing German borders for asylum seekers registered in another European Union country. The split, eventually repaired following a summit with EU countries, threatened to bring down the government. Seehofer was replaced as CSU leader at a party conference in January 2019. Although he retained his position as Interior Minister in the cabinet, Merkel herself announced that she would resign as leader of the CDU at the party's conference in December 2018 and step down as Chancellor of Germany at the forthcoming election. Following poor results at state elections for the CSU in Bavaria and for the CDU in Hesse, Merkel's preferred candidate for the party leadership, Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, narrowly defeated conservative rivals who opposed Merkel's leadership. However, Kramp-Karrenbauer struggled to unify the party's liberal and conservative factions, and in February 2020, she announced her intention to step down as CDU leader and withdraw her interest in running as the party's nominee for chancellor at the election. A party convention to elect a new leader was scheduled for April, but repeatedly delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The election was held in January 2021, with Armin Laschet, incumbent minister-president of North Rhine-Westphalia, winning with 52.8% of delegate votes. His main opponent was Friedrich Merz, a longtime critic of Merkel, who won 47.2%. The other party in the coalition government, the SPD, also had leadership instability. Following their worst general election result since 1945, The party elected Andrea Nahles as their leader in April 2018. Nahles had earlier been successfully nominated as leader of the SPD parliamentary group. However, she was unsuccessful in improving the party's stocks, as it continued to slide in opinion polls and was well beaten by left-wing party Alliance 90th Greens at the 2019 European Parliament election. She resigned on 2 June 2019, precipitating a leadership election for the SPD. Progressive candidates Norbert Walter Borjans and Saskia Esken defeated more moderate candidates and were elected co-leaders by the party's membership. Their election raised prospects of the coalition government collapsing and early elections being called, although Reuters reported that the duo would seek to achieve agreement from the CDU-CSU on increasing public spending rather than allow the government to collapse. In August 2020, the party appointed Me.